I think we're live. Chat. Are we live? YouTube, please work. Um, please work today. It says we're live. What is up, people? The internet, that is me, Real American, back in with a new stream, and that is right. We are live on this beautiful February 13th, 2026. I hope everyone's having a great day. I'm having a great day myself. And we have a very special guest here today, the founder of America First Insight, Mark. Hello.
Hello. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, this is the official founder of America First Insight. For those that don't know, one of the best new groups out there, started in early 2024, mid 2024, I think it was, right?
Mid
Yeah, mid.
2024.
Yeah, they've been, listen, if I be completely honest, America First Insight's been one of the few sane groups in the last couple of months. So, yeah. I will say, obviously, I've been affiliated with them for basically the entire time. I did help with 24 stuff. But yeah, I thought, you know what? It's a good time to finally get Mark on here because he's both a great guy and a lot smarter some stuff than I am. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
welcome. Yeah,
No,
we're
glad to be here. And I do want to say thank you so much for all the work you did. If you guys don't know, Real really helped out with the pollster scorecard and did a lot with the election stuff, which was a phenomenal success in 2024. So really appreciate all that.
yeah, I mean, like, I'm hoping that we're gonna do another one this year. Just gonna a lot of stuff's going on right now. It just never ends with a lot of stuff going on. But yeah,
Politics never quits.
yeah. So before we get into today's stream, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content. And if you have any questions or concerns or want to support the channel even further, the best way is sending super chats via the chat. Again, I'll read through as much chat as possible, but usually super chats are the best way to get your questions answered. So again, send super chats and share the stream and all that good stuff. But okay. So I really don't know what to start with today because we had a lot of news break right before the stream started. So I guess we could start with the kind of the possibly the biggest story, the biggest news is Susan Collins. Susan Collins a little while ago just announced that she will officially back the Save America Act. And this has been confirmed by Mike Lee and Polina Luna and a few others. Now, I don't think she sponsored it, right? Did she
Uh,
sponsor it?
I think it was a co-sponsor. Either way, she backed it. Doesn't
Yeah.
really make a difference.
I know, but like you want to be like co-sponsor, be like Sue at 50, but yeah, we're unofficially at 50 for the Save America Act, which is huge. That was a big question. Who's be number 50? And oh gosh, Will Stancil joined.
What's poppin', Patriots? What's going on?
Yeah,
Sabatini Stan, AFI in the house. Get yourself a membership for AFI.
that's
Get yourself
real.
a membership for Real American Politics. Also, get a membership for the Great Lakes Perspective. All
Thank
three of us.
you.
Become a member of all three. We got a lot of
Thank
good
God.
content coming.
Yeah, so yeah, Mark joined today. So yeah, well welcome to stream, Luke.
I know I saw you
Hey,
join. Boston Nationalist was like, oh my God, Sabatini stands on the rap stream. And I was like, okay, I'll join in.
Oh
So
gosh. Yoshi fan Nick for 2. Susan Collins, yes for the Save Act. Yes, that's official. Jacko Max for 2. Rupert Lau is making moves across the pound. Yeah, I saw he announced a new party, I think, today or something.
who did?
That Rupert Lau guy.
Dude, it's
That
not.
guy's
He's gonna
pretty
get
good.
like 1% max. I'm sorry,
I mean,
Farage is.
Rupert Lowe is a good guy, but he's not gonna
He
go
is
anywhere.
one. Let's be too real too. The reason he was expelled for Reform UK had nothing to do with him being too based for the party. It was because he was trying to supplant Farage's leadership. And let's be real, Farage has a big ego thing. So yeah, you could say that's stupid, but he wasn't like suspended for being based or whatever. That's a
Yeah,
big
I get
misconception.
that. But yeah, so anyways, back to the big story. I'm not gonna really get into the UK stuff because that's such a shit show. I think the government's gonna collapse anyways in a week.
We got too much stuff going on here on our
Yeah.
side of the pond.
President Gilbert Giddy up for 2. Welcome, Mark, a new usual suspect to the stream. Yeah, I've been trying to get Mark on for a while, and there's a lot we're supposed to
busy,
get into.
busy.
Yeah. So, with that out of the way, we are officially at 50 in the Senate. That means we have a tiebreaker. We may not even need one because I think Fetterman says he's going to vote on it. So, at this point, we just got to figure out like how do you get around the filibuster? This has always been the big issue. We get to 50, but now what do we do? Like, Do they go to talk and filibuster route? Because in my opinion, that's the only way they can go.
The problem is, and I know you're gonna say, "Oh, the Democrats are gonna do it anyways." The problem is if I really just I don't want to make the same mistake Harry Reid made in like 2013 or 2014. I do not want to make that same mistake. Trust me, like it may have good things for us in the short term, but long term, it could just lead to the Democrats going fucking even crazier than they are. And again, we do not want to make the same mistake Harry Reid made in 2013. I cannot repeat this enough. So my proposal is actually to reduce the filibuster threshold limit from 60 to 55 senators. Because I don't think either party, and especially not the Democrats, I don't think they're going to get over 55 seats for a very long time, if ever. But they could and probably will get over 50 seats in any time in the next 15 years. So I think a 55 seat compromise is the most appropriate and least, and it gets us the most short-term benefits without allowing us to Harry Reid 2013 ourselves, if that makes sense. So yeah, 55 seats.
All right. Mark, what do you think? Because we kind of talked about this last night, a little with the filibuster thing. Well, what's your thoughts on the SAFE Act? Like, are they gonna go around with the filibuster or what?
I mean, the only realistic way they're going to be able to get around the filibuster is if they switch over to the standing filibuster, which
Yeah.
will basically fully stall the Senate for like 3 weeks. And I want to mention, the point that we don't want to make the same mistake. The ultimate issue with nuking the filibuster, especially for the GOP, is that if we nuke the filibuster, and the Democrats ever get 50 Senate votes and a trifecta, they get the +4 Senate seats because they're going to make Puerto Rico and they're going to make DC states. And you can
Absolutely.
argue whether Puerto Rico will, some people think, oh, it'll be a swing state. I don't think it'll be. It'll be like D plus like 12, 13, 15, whatever. It's a huge welfare state. So the issue is that we cannot counter. There's no +4 GOP seats we can get anywhere.
That's true. That is the
so
one
that's
issue.
why-
Alberta. I'm kidding.
It's so true.
Yeah, but even then, even if Alberta became part of this union, I don't think it'd be particularly Republican.
It will lean to the
anyways.
right.
We could
You'd
annex
get-
Japan,
you'd get, like,
maybe.
two
We
New
could make
England
like 6 red
senators.
states out of that.
We could annex Poland and
God.
Italy.
Yeah, sure. But like it is a big issue. Like like there's got to be a loophole around it somehow. There's going to be some obscure procedure nobody ever heard about.
And
I don't
and
know.
I think it's gonna have to be the standing filibuster, but then you also have the question: do they want to like go with the standing filibuster? Because that just means the Democrats can do a standing filibuster on us too, as well. So it's gonna be a tough thing, you know, to just get anything passed. I mean, that's just how the Senate works. Nothing ever happens. Our government is built to gridlock. It is, and especially the Senate. The Senate, if you ever read anything the founding fathers wrote about the Senate, they basically designed the Senate with the idea that the Senate protects the status quo at all costs.
Yeah, it prevents like radical stuff from being rammed through because that's what they're fearful of. But like they're oh, go on. Sorry.
You go ahead.
No.
I was. Shoot,
No, I
okay.
thought
You know-
no.
You know what we need? We need to, because in this country, nothing gets done through the legislative process, really, except for like judges. And speaking of which, if you want to fundamentally transform this country for the better, you ram in justices like crazy. You ram in not just like you lower level judges, not just like Supreme Court justices like Biden did in his term. You do that on repeat like crazy. You confirm like as many judges as possible. I don't know if they're really doing that this term, and boom, that's how you win. It's through the courts. That's effectively how you take control over this country, not through the legislature.
Yeah, I mean it's a good point. I mean, like we're having a lot of problems with the judges right now. I mean, look at these hack of judges saying, "Oh no, you can't arrest this person because he's a poor immigrant, so he's free to go." It's like it's insane. But like at the same time, like I think talking filibuster. What is the fish called? The standing filibuster?
Yeah,
it-
right now we have like the zombie filibuster, and we
Yeah.
want to go. I think talking and standing are the same thing. Basically, they need to physically occupy the floor and physically like be talking and everything in order to stall legislation.
I think at this point you gotta go through with it. This is a once in a generation opportunity to ram through election reform. That's my take on this. I think you're not getting another chance at this. The House is probably gone after this year, and we're lucky we're at 50 in the Senate right now. So I think at this point, you might as well go through with it. Say, fuck we ball. And try to ram through
What-
election reform. That's just my opinion on it. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, like I said, I think the biggest concern, and this is why you're going to have so much resistance, especially among Senate Republicans, about anything, even tweaking the filibuster and such. Everyone goes, "Oh, Thun's not just changing it." I'm almost certain like 30 Republican senators don't want to change it, some crazy number like that, and that's because the Democrats would be in a much stronger position to pass stuff if there is no filibuster. Because even if right now, let's say hypothetically, there was no filibuster, there's still like 6, 7. Oh God,
Mm,
oh boy, there's like
why?
5 to 8 Senate Republicans who just don't like the agenda. They don't want to pass it. You have, Todd Young's been okay this session, but you have McConnell, Tillis, Collins can't really do much. You have Murkowski, and then you have just random other people who just block random stuff. I mean, you even have like Senator Wicker recently go, "Hey, I don't even want ICE detention centers in my
Yeah, I
state."
saw
So,
that. Why did he oppose that? That's the most random thing ever. You don't want a detention center in Mississippi?
yeah,
Really?
so
Which, by the way, I believe he was the one who wanted to nuke Ukraine, right? Or Russia. He was the one who wanted
Yeah,
to
he
nuke Russia.
was.
Oh,
Yeah.
the chat is saying nothing but 6-7.
Yeah.
My bad, guys.
Congratulations.
But so that's the issue, and that's why so many of the GOP Senate are going to be really like not that interested in switching it, and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
I mean, like, there's gotta be like some procedure they could use, like something. And like, I'm trying to think, could they theoretically attach this to like a reconciliation bill somehow?
No, it would violate the
Yeah, I was
Byrd
thinking
rule
that.
or whatever,
Yeah.
which is such a hassle and everything. So I don't think they would attach it to anything like that.
I don't know. There's got to be something they could do. I mean, like Trump is pushing hard at this. We'll see.
Never say never in politics, but wouldn't be placing any bets on anything happening.
Yeah, we're talking about the Senate GOP after all, so yeah. America Nerd for 6. How will Collins vote yes to the Save America Act affect her re-election campaign? Because isn't made like the other New England states very liberal? Guys, voter ID is popular in freaking Maine. For crying out loud, it's popular in every state. Is there a single state that opposes
This
voter
isn't even
ID?
an 80-20 issue. This is like a 90-10
Yeah.
issue. This is an 80-20 issue among Democrats.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you need to know. This isn't going to hurt her.
It's gonna help
in
her if
fact,
anything.
Yeah, the Dem attack is basically saying it's voter suppression, but they don't have anything really past that. They're not going to be able to sell it to voters. That's what I'll say.
It's like the same with gun control. Like, yeah, Maine's Democrat state, and they're not fans of gun control up there. So,
Yeah.
Horland for 2. Giga Chad Collins versus Virgin loser Murkowski. Yeah, what? How can Murkowski like support Biden's
from
bill?
What I saw with Murkowski, what she said was she was like, I would support this bill, but it's done at the federal level, so that's unconstitutional.
Did she
That's
literally
basically
support that?
Support what?
Did she support Biden's election stuff in 2021?
Probably. But yeah,
Yes,
she was
she did.
basically saying like, yeah, I support voter ID, but it shouldn't be done at the federal level. It's shut up. Stupid.
Practice for 20. Just wanted to come here and say, Boston, you're dumb. You took an L in Wisconsin. Wisconsin's better get demolished. Luke knows what I'm talking about. Let's go, Tiffany. And subscribe to the Great Lake Perspective.
Perictorius is a patriot. He's like my #1 channel donor. He's a fellow Wisconsinite. He's a former Democrat who's switching parties now.
W.
And him and I were debating Boston nationalist on Wisconsin because Boston hates Wisconsin for whatever reason.
Oh gosh.
So,
American Nerd for 2. What did Harry Reid do in 2013? He made a mistake with the filibuster and it blew up in his face. Just look up what he did. It did not end well for him.
He lowered the Supreme Court. He needed like previously like 60 vote. I could be mistaken. And if anybody
It was
has
60.
the exact, it was 60, and then he changed it to 50, and we all know how that ended up.
Yeah,
And
there's that famous McConnell quote. I just
And
say
he
the
was
McConnell
right.
quote.
He was right, and we do not want to be Harry Reid, and we don't want Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries or whoever replaces Chuck Schumer to be McConnell telling us, warning us, and then we like get completely owned 10 years later once they declare DC and Puerto Rico a state and legalize like 10 million illegals
No,
and like
the counter argument would be that Dems are just going to do that shit anyways, no matter
Yeah,
what.
that's why I'm saying, like, at this point, I'm not saying you should abolish it completely. I just said go talk it filibuster, or whatever it's
Yeah, go
called.
back to the
here's the thing.
talking
Here's my
filibuster.
counter argument to that. And I'm not trying to defend the Dems too much, but here's the thing. You know how during Biden's term, like, oh, it was always Biden during the early Biden years, it was always like Manchin and Sinema who were basically stalling his agenda, except it wasn't only those two. There were like at least 10 to 15, maybe even 20 other senators who basically agreed with them, but they just used Manchin and Sinema as a cover. I can guarantee you, if the Democrats ever actually tried to like eliminate the filibuster, like a lot of Democratic senators would say no. Even
They
more, not
did.
as many as
They had a
Republicans.
vote on it. The only two no votes were mentioned. Cinema.
Yeah, and that's because you know why it was only those two, because there were at least 10 to 15 other Democratic senators who just voted yes to save face, but they if it wasn't for Manchin and Sinema, there would have been a lot more no votes.
We'll see.
And the same thing is probably
Fair
true.
point, though. But here's what to think about. The Democratic freshmen coming into the Senate are a lot more radical. You're seeing a lot of the old guard, kind of like the Dick Durbins of the world, start to leave. And the ones replacing them are almost certainly going to be a lot more radical. So, yeah, that
Yeah. I mean,
Democratic class you had under Biden, yeah, they might not have wanted it, but the people who are going to replace them are going to be a lot more left wing.
All right, we have more super chat to catch up to. Where we at? Shit. Oh crap, we lost it. Okay, there it is. K Cup for fight. Fun fact: after the stream where Ye joked, Sonic would agree with me on trans rights. Someone I know who went to school in Minnesota legit made that his profile. Okay. Glitch Evie for 2. Yeah, 55 seats makes sense to me. I just think go back to talking filibuster. That's my take on it. Honestly, the Senate's not going to do anything anyways for the next couple weeks. Who cares? That's my opinion on it. It's not going to change anything. So. Glitch Evie for 2. Speaking of Puerto Rico, it passed a pro-life law. Don't fall for it. That does not make it that Republican. It's more Republican than some people think it would be, but that's not really saying much.
Look, abortion, especially now in the post Trump 24 era, has become an issue that is not really partisan. I mean, look at the exit polls in like Virginia in 2025. The electorate was more pro life than it was in
Yeah.
2021. The issue is this. Abortion's becoming an issue that is Republicans are just like states' rights. Dems are like, yeah, we want to nationally legalize it, but they don't talk about it. Notice how they haven't talked about it since Trump became president, because their entire argument on that issue was that Trump was going to get elected and then ban it, and that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So it's basically dead as an issue now on the national level. So,
American Nerd for 6. Did Alexander Hamilton want the Senate to be like the UK House of Lords, where the members would be senators for life or something like that? I mean, yeah, he did kind of support some stuff like that.
I think honestly, I think it should go back to being elected by the state
I
legislature.
agree. I think it was always supposed to be by the states. I think popular vote for senators is stupid.
That was one of the progressive era reforms, and the progressive era was by and large good. I think it prevented America from becoming a full-on communist country. I think that would have probably happened had the reforms not happened. That was kind of a sloppulist issue, what you would call back in the what you would
I
call
would call
now
it then.
sloppulist.
Listen,
Yeah.
sloppulous now is a shit. And that's something I want to get to
like,
later.
Even
but...
for back then, that would have been like what we call sloppulous now. Like, it's just like, oh, if we get rid of this, that'll stop corporations from buying Senate seats. In fact, but it actually just amplified
made it worse.
Because
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of like term limits now. Like, they sound great in theory, but then when you think about it for like 2 seconds, it's like, oh, maybe that.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want to lose
stupid.
all these good people.
Wild and Crazy Bear for 2. There goes Puerto Rico chance to be in a state. Yeah. American Nerd for 2. Sorry for asking. Just want her seat to remain Republican. It's gonna remain Republican. Practice for 20. Confirmed from John Thune there will be no change of filibuster, as around 40 GOP senators absolutely oppose changing the filibuster. The SAVE Act is unfortunately dead. The GOP just wants to operate like it's 2010. Yeah, that's the problem. They got to find something, but it's not good.
No, and this is the thing. It's not
Okay,
the base isn't going to vote. And okay, go on.
We're just moving on quickly.
Sorry.
King Cup for 2. Didn't even Milwaukee Madison vote for voter ID? Yes, it did. Simple Logic for 5. Going camping up in Hartman State Park, Wisconsin this summer. My wife's family's up from there. We live in Indiana. I think Young is a sellout bum. Yeah, Todd Young sucks. Mr. M for 2. Are we allowed to call senators outside of states? I mean, why wouldn't you be able to?
Okay, we got breaking news. The United States is apparently preparing for a full-blown military escalation in Iran.
They've been saying this for how many months now?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah, it's
say
Yeah.
yeah.
it's
Boston
it's
just
gonna
kept
keep
adding
going.
me. He was just like, Luke, post
It's
this.
happening.
Happening this
Also-
time.
Also, in other lesser news, but pretty good news, Brandon Herrera is leading a poll.
I saw that.
We'll post
Patriot.
it in here.
Yeah.
By the way, on the Iran thing, on the Iran thing, I think Trump is going to strike Iran when no one expects him to, and when that happens, the regime is going to fall apart, and it's going to be beautiful.
Can we just bomb Canada instead?
Yeah, no, but it'd be funny, but no.
Yeah, I mean, like, again, they've been saying since last June. Remember, Rich Bears claims that there's boots on the ground in Iran. How's that going? Freaking, it's stupid. This whole discourse in Iran. Listen, I don't know if we're gonna bomb them or not. I'm not a big fan of the idea, but honestly,
I'm fully. I've been having a lot of people familiar with the Iran stuff. I kind of been this guy Warren McCommon. Check him out on Twitter. Best person for Iran news. We've had him on the stream. He was born in Iran, but now he lives in Sweden, I think. But he hopes to go back eventually. He's very opposed to the regime. He's been giving us a lot of insight, and these people are like genuinely evil. They genuinely need
oh
to
yeah,
be deposed.
they're not good people, obviously, but
They are fucking terrible. And the fact we have certain individuals in right-wing media, a certain
okay. Anyways,
Mexican from Chicago,
Certain
saying that,
Guatemalan.
saying that the people in the streets are traitors to their country and should be shot.
okay,
I
okay,
think-
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna Iran stuff because again, we keep saying it's gonna happen and nothing happens. Guys, we're gonna nuke Iran. Lindsey Graham is gonna nuke Iran in 2 months. Yeah. They've been saying that for a while. American Nerd for 2 on Iran. Check the pizza orders from the Pentagon. Guys, the Pentagon thing's like out of date. They found a loophole around that. Like the pizza indicator doesn't mean shit anymore. So
Also, I've seen like several times in the past 2 weeks it go crazy. And
it goes up every night.
Yeah, every night it's like, oh look, guys, it's over, it's happening, and then just nothing happens.
I'm pretty sure they have a place inside the Pentagon at this point. I'm pretty sure they do
I will
already.
say there's another metric that's a lot better. And
Oh
it's-
jeez.
I think people know what I'm talking.
Yes,
certain
everybody
quotes.
knows.
That's probably a better metric
Yeah.
now, from what I've heard.
Okay, so enough of that. I guess we gotta segue into a topic that Mark is getting a big fan of, the Epstein files.
So true.
Listen, again, we've talked a lot about this, but I think today we might have reached the pinnacle of what the fuck was the point of all of this. So for those that don't know, Rokan and Thomas Massey, they were throwing a temper tantrum about what was it, 6 names, right? It was
Yeah,
6
something like that.
yeah, 6 redacted names. And they went on the House floor and they listed off 6 names. And 2 of them are prominent people. The big ones is Les Wexner and the Sultan Salman or whatever his name is. Solomon, whatever, right?
Something.
Yeah. And these are big names. Like these are 2 big names, but they were claiming these 4 other schmucks were like wealthy, influential people. Well, Mark, can you explain who these people actually were?
Yes. So it was confirmed today, I think, by the DOJ and other people reporting it, that those names that they read off, in which they went to the House floor, they read off the names and heavily imply that these were, co-conspirators or sex traffickers. Yeah, these were just names of people who were part of a photo lineup from the New York City case or whatever. So, yes, good job, guys. Congrats.
Again, I'm going to pull the Clay Higgins tweet in a second, but Clay Higgins is right. We shat on him back in November. He was vindicated on this whole thing. I cannot believe these idiots. They really convinced everybody. The worst part is they knew this. They knew these are random schmucks off the street. They knew it. They saw the unredacted files and they automatically said these people were involved. They were co-conspirators, which again, like the files themselves, don't they even mention like he's not like Wexner's not even a co-conspirator or something? It like mentions a secondary one or something and like no evidence, but
Yeah, there's like one file where he's listed as a co-conspirator, but that's it. And I think there's another file that just says there wasn't enough evidence or something, which I mean makes, somewhat sense,
Yeah.
beyond a reasonable doubt. Don't forget that, people. Beyond a reasonable doubt is a very, very high standard for any type of crime to be proven.
Yeah.
So
And now we're learning that this whole thing is just bullshit. And this crusade by Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, what was the point? What was the point of all of this?
to make
Grifting.
headlines.
Yeah. And hold on, I gotta pull the Thomas Massie tweet
And
because you
probably to boost Ro Khanna's presidential bid.
probably. I gotta pull the Thomas Massie tweet because you want to talk about like how stupid this is. Thomas Massie, remember, we have video evidence of these two dumb shits running around. Remember, there's video of this. Right after they saw the files unredacted, they said there were 6 names of high profile people, rich individuals, whatever. They saw in the files, their names were redacted. And remember, I'm pretty sure Massie used the word like they were like involved or something. Like what's the word for it? It's like
I think you call them like co-conspirators. Or
Co-conspirators,
something. I
yeah.
don't remember.
He said like some of those lines, and now it's confirmed these 4 of these guys had nothing to do with anything. They were just people in a photo lineup. And this is how Thomas Massie responded. Look at this. I actually said on national TV Monday that 4 of them might be men in a lineup, but you released them anyway. Maybe you should have checked with your folks first or provided some context instead of trying to beat my TV appearance and then blaming us.
Yeah, Thomas Massey is just a grandstander. I mean, along with Ro Khanna, they're just grandstanders. They want to run for president. That's why Massey can't, but Ro Khanna can. That's what they want to do. That's ultimately what they want to do.
So let me get this straight. The DOJ lets these people go to their office. All right. They see the unredacted files. They're on video saying they have 6 powerful names. That's what they said. And they demand the names get redacted. And they're going to reveal the names at a committee hearing. And that's what Ro Khanna did. The unredacted names as instructed. And now they're blaming Todd Blanche and saying, how dare you unredact the names?
Yeah, and to put how like ridiculous it was even more. If you look at the unredacted file, right, it has a source section to the right. It's like their names, date of birth, something, and then a source, and everyone is listed with a source, NYPD, and then a year, except for Epstein and Maxwell in that particular lineup. Which, if these are just NYPD photos, I don't know how your first thought isn't like, oh, this is for a photo lineup because.
Yeah.
It's the NYPD photos. That's where they get photo lineups from. They don't just like Google people.
I like it's just crazy to think that all this hysteria is now like I think it's starting to slowly. It's gonna be around for a while, but this was a huge misstep by these two. I think Ro Khanna actually got ratioed for once, which is hilarious. But like, you cannot just, like this is the issue with the files. You cannot just run around and say these 6 individuals are all involved. They're all co-conspirators. They're all powerful names. You can't just say that. And it turns out 4 of them are just random Joes off the street. Do we even know who these people are exactly?
If it's from NYPD, they either are other people's mugshots if they wanted them to look correctly. I don't know NYPD photo lineup standards, or it's cops, because I know a lot of the time they end up using cops who look similar to whoever they want as well.
Yeah.
So it's one of those two.
It's this whole thing is just but we're forced to talk about it because we got to debunk the nonsense in it and talk about the actual findings. And I think didn't APL post something about this?
She's posted some interesting stuff. For example, one thing, and I really appreciate her commentary on it and whatnot. One of the things she had posted ended up being, a big thing, especially online, is like the idea that these coded words, what do they mean? They keep saying pizza, jerky, whatever. And one thing that APL brought up was, from what she's looked in the emails, it looks like one of the adult female quote victims is actually the origin of the code words. So Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hope she can, go more more in depth on that at some point.
Yeah, so I mean, like this is huge, guys, because it turns out a lot of these victims that were running around Thomas Massie, again, not everybody's one of these people, but like a good chunk of these quote unquote victims, turns out they were lying about shit. They were way more involved than they were saying, publicly at least. And yeah,
Yeah.
right here, I got it pulled up.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to mention that a big thing about it, if you want to know the scale of this, is if you go ahead and if you can if you want to, or if you can stomach it, read the grand jury testimonies from the Florida case, in which it's pretty plainly spelled out that a lot of the victims were gathered from victims who were paid like $200 per person they brought to Epstein.
Yeah. Again, we're not even saying like everybody's involved with it. We're not saying like everybody did this. We're just saying like a good chunk of them, the ones that are in the media mostly, funny enough, they're the ones that actually did this shit. They're the ones that have these coded language.
Yeah. This is seeming like a repeat of E. Jean Carroll and Stormy Daniels yet again.
Yeah. Let's see. Jacko Max for 2. Thomas, I heart open borders, Massey, gay flake, trans flake. I saw that meme. That was hilarious. Wild Crazy Bear for 2. Trump needs to go after John Thune more. I mean, John Thune's been fine. He's done as all he can, really, but
I'll say this about John Thune, actually, and I highly appreciate the fact, and it's not talked about because it's boring government stuff. He got the most amount of civilian nominees confirmed in the first year of a president ever in history.
Yeah,
So
I saw
he's
that.
done his work on that, and it's not talked about enough, but he has done his work.
Wait, Trump has confirmed a lot of judges' term, because I don't. In the first Trump term and in the Biden term, a lot of people were talking about this. But is he doing that now too? Because people aren't talking about it.
I think it's on par, a little bit behind Trump 1. I just think the Judiciary Committee is moving a lot slower this time around, probably because McConnell doesn't care about it. Because that's the one thing I will give McConnell credit for. He loved pushing judges through. He was very good at it too. But I think the Senate has been way more occupied with getting civilian nominations done and dusted with, so the executive can be set up to succeed.
Yeah,
I think you also have to give them credit for specifically Hegseth, because Hegseth took forever to get through, from what I remember.
it was a pain in the ass
last year.
We need to get Thune to like go full McConnell mood, if not more. We need twice the judges as Trump won, because I think we're going to hold the Senate. So from 2027 onwards, we need to just ram in justices. Like, we need to make Biden's look like child's play, and we need to get at least a few Supreme Court justices. Like, that's what we need to do.
And I think that's possible because it's way less party defects when it comes to like judicial nominees, because I think everyone in the party just kind of understands how important judicial nominees are. So get the civilian nominees where there's plenty of defects. Sometimes, a lot of the people we get only end up passing through 50 or whatnot, especially the really important people. So yeah, I think past the midterms, I think Thune and Senate will kind of just be a judicial confirmation set up, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like the civil confirmations, I forgot about that. Honestly, they're getting a lot through, surprisingly, which is weird. Like, they're not getting judges through, but they're getting like the civil ones through.
I think they passed the rule that they can do like 50 civilian nominees at once or whatever.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which really appreciate. Thank you, Thune.
Yeah, again, Thune is better than McConnell, in my opinion. I don't think it's great, but it's like, compared to McConnell, especially later. Yeah, thank God.
The thing with Thune is he's not motivated by like personal slights and spites like McConnell was, especially during the end. Like, I think that if Thune was a majority leader from Trump's first term, he may not have gotten as much done, because I don't think he had the control over his caucus like McConnell did. But he would not have fallen out with Trump. He would, and he did not fall out over with Trump, despite criticizing him over January 6th. So yeah.
I think Thune is basically what like the equivalent to Kevin McCarthy, like in the Senate now, where he's Yeah, well, yeah. As of right now, I would say that he's better, and this is he mostly just wants to like hold on to power in the Senate, and so to hold on to power, he's realizing that he has to like capitulate to MAGA on at least a few key things.
Yeah, just like I don't know, just there's more I wish could be done, but like part of it is because you do got McConnell in the majority and
And
Murkowski.
Murkowski is a huge
Yeah,
like n- thorn in our backs right
And
now.
Tillis
Tillis.
and Collins really only does it when she has to be the 50th vote. And
Yep.
then you also have Todd Young. And thankfully, we don't have to worry
Shelley
about
Moore
Cassidy
Capito.
yet, but we probably will have to worry about Cassidy after he loses his
Yeah.
Oh my
primary.
gosh, she's gonna be awful after he loses that.
We're gonna have to work on. By the way, the fact that Shelley Moore Capito is going to win another term. I mean, she has no primary
That's
challengers.
embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. You took the words out of my mouth. Like we always sing the same thing. This thing midnight.
Yeah.
But yes, I was gonna say that. It is
All right.
embarrassing.
Riley Moore has been a member for 41 months. Susan Collins, a yes vote for the Save America Act. We finally got 50. Yep, we talked about that again. There's gotta be the only way is to talk and filibuster, and it does not sound like they want to do it. But Trump's gonna force something. He's pushing hard on this, so we'll see. All right. So enough of that. In a nutshell, guys, the Epstein stuff is getting just. What are we doing?
It really is becoming like you said this several weeks ago, Rapper. You said it's basically the modern day equivalent of like Me Too a decade ago.
Yeah.
At this point.
I would argue better comparisons to the Salem witch trials. Seriously, like, how is it any different? Like, all you need is like one. Like at this point, if Thomas Massey says this person is like a co-conspirator, everybody believes it.
Yeah, that's the problem with this stuff. It's like you accuse someone of doing something like heinous, and then if you try to say, okay, there's no proof for that, they'll just come out and say, oh, you're a
Yeah,
predator
you're a
protecting me."
sympathizer.
Yeah,
You're a
you don't get
protector.
any leeway if you do not
Mhm.
believe that the worst case scenario is happening in like between one sentence words, you know. And another thing that shows like the Epstein files were really just about frankly creating drama, right? I did the math, right? Assuming there was 3 million plus files and the from when the law passed to the deadline, it was about 3 weeks, right? Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna wanted the DOJ to redact and explain 142,000 files daily from
Jesus.
when it passed to the deadline. And they had at most like 500 people working on it. That is such an insane and obviously was never going to happen like deadline, which is why I wasn't worried. Like when they were saying, "Oh, we're gonna get Pam Bondi arrested for, you know, whatever disobeying the law," I'm like, bring it in front of a judge, and when Pam Bondi says, you know, "Oh, we had to do 142,000 files daily," they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's impossible." Okay, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like I did not realize that many. The scale of that is just crazy. But
It's also very hard to actually indict and like prosecute like federal employees like this or and cabinet
well,
members too.
I mean, like what? It just the more like you look at this, what was it was the only point, the only reason they cared about this stuff is fundraising. Only reason they gave a shit about it.
Well, and I should point out too that like even if we're going back to like the initial drops of the Epstein files, Trump has already done more on the Epstein files than Biden did in his entire 4 years. He had 4 years to release all this information. He did literally nothing. I know I'm just kind of preaching to the choir on this, but
Yeah.
it needs to be said.
All right, and Mr. Ye joined. Oh gosh.
Oh, he's
Oh, he
gone
left.
now.
Well, yeah, we have no Texas representation today. Oh well. Anyways, yeah. So this whole stuff. I mean, like 100. What was it? 170,000. 140,000.
142,000
My
daily.
Gosh. Like, even if you have 500 people working day and night, that's impossible. And remember, they had a bunch of lawsuits to deal with. Remember that? They had to deal with like a
Yeah,
bunch of
they had, like,
lawsuits.
the
Yes.
judges like suing and or not suing, but also ruling on how they had to do it. They also, I think one of the reasons it got slowed down was one of the judges ruled that it had to be like double reviewed between DOJ and SDNY, or SDNY and FBI. It's obviously it was created with such a deadline purely to create this whole spectacle. Realistically, it needed a deadline of like a year, year and a half, maybe.
The best way they could have done this, in my opinion, if they would have written the law to the point where it's like every time they finish one redacted file, they release it, or something like that. It's like a live counter. Just there's gonna be a better way to do it instead of, oh, actually, you have to release 3 million files in 2 weeks. Good luck, and you have no time. You one day over, so it's too late.
Well, what should have happened again is, we've been talking about this for months, is we should not have made this into like a public media blitzkrieg of like, see, guys, we've got the files right here and we're going to drop them to you in like a couple of weeks or something. Like, what should have been done instead is to say, like, hey, guys, gradually over the span of like the next 4 years, we are going to release like all of the Epstein files here. You need to give us time because there are lots of people in the files who did nothing wrong, or there are victims in the files who we want to keep private for their own safety and so forth. That's what they should have
That
done
should have been like
instead of
the
this.
that's if Massey actually gave a shit with the files, that's what it would have done. But no, this was Hail
And-
Mary, and it's blew up his face, I think.
And everybody's talking, and obviously everybody's rightly giving Thomas Massey crap for all this. But honestly, more criticism needs to be given to MTG right now, considering she has gone on Steve Bannon's
Yeah,
podcast
hold up, I pulled this
numerous
up.
times, even though he is now being implicated in the files and and again, as we talked about before, met with Epstein in March of 2019 and also was working on a documentary to basically clear Jeffrey Epstein of his names. So like, you don't freaking care about the victims of this all. This is just because you're spiteful at Trump.
Yeah, this was just to get a Trump.
Absolutely.
And they realized, you notice, suddenly the narrative is changing on the Epstein stuff with Trump. First, they're saying he's you know what, but
PDF
now,
file.
yeah, and now they found that one document saying like he reported Epstein to the police. Suddenly, the narrative changed like overnight. They
Yeah.
immediately stopped
I-
talking about it.
I remember AF Insight was like the ones who like I found that information out because they put that out there and I was
Yeah.
thankful.
If America First Insight, again, go follow them. There's
That was such a brutal night to try to read
Yeah.
through that stuff and figure out what was actually being said. But another thing that I absolutely despise about the files release was the fact that they're like, yes, turn over unverified police tips, put that out in the public. What an amazing idea! One of the worst things that has
guys. Did you
ever
know
happened.
they buried a body in the 19th hole of golf course that does not have a 19th hole or did not exist 30 years ago?
Yes, real.
No, seriously. I'm not even exaggerating. The document literally says in 1996 or like 95 or whatever, this dead body was buried in the 19th hole of this golf course. Trump did not own the golf course till like 2003 or whatever. And it does not even a 19th hole in it. That's the one in New Jersey, wherever it's called.
And what's also crazy is just online how much engagement all those got. Just you could pull up any email and say like this proves the pedo ring is real or whatever, and they get like 200,000 likes, and you won't even get community notice.
Where's the
And you know what
community
it is?
notes?
Because you want to know, like, not only is this stuff a witch hunt, this is basically a soap opera to most people.
Yeah. I mean, like, listen, I think there should be more investigations. I think some of the emails are sketchy as hell. Like, hey, why is this victim talking about jerky and freaking like there's 20 people involved? Like, what's going on there? Like, that's a serious thing. They gotta look into that. I think the DOJ should investigate stuff like that and more inquiries. But it's like, how can anyone say it's all proof that everything we said is true? There's nothing here that I could see like of note that definitively proves any of this crap. Again, just show us the documents. Notice that we've been asking for how many weeks now? Like 3 weeks, and not
Yeah,
a single
something like that.
person, not one person has come forward with documents that prove anything.
Yeah, and it's also of suspect that like no one is naming names. I mean, Massey said he had names. I think MTG
MTG
at one
did.
point said
MTG
she had names. None of the victims have said names, and it's important to know that even Elon Musk has gone out and said like, "Hey, if you say names and they try and sue you for like defamation,
pay
or anything,
for
I'll
it."
fully cover all your legal costs for like ever." And it's like, okay, I mean, there's like 20 of you that go around publicly, you know, th- you guys can do something, right? Or say nothing at all.
That's the craziest thing. They say, like, oh my goodness, my name was not properly redacted in the files. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to the most watched hearing of the entire year with Pam Bondi and stuff. Go on NBC 5 minutes later for millions of people to watch. Man, like, does nobody question that? Am I going crazy for suggesting like why are they doing that if they're so worried about the redactions?
No, I think that's a reasonable question. Like if you're gonna worry about, not being redacted, you don't go out publicly
You
like that.
you go to the most televised, popularized hearing of the entire like possible decade, for crying out loud. Millions of people are watching, and you stand up and make a spectacle. You go on NBC News 10 minutes later. You do an interview that 10 million people watch or whatever. It's like, what are we doing here?
It almost feels like it's another like paid agitator, like in the case of like all those like bullshit town halls where
Yep.
people are being paid to be there.
Yeah, but you bring any of this up, you're somehow worse than Epstein. That's the worst part about this. You are worse than Epstein if you say any of this. Even though I said repeatedly, Epstein and Maxwell are pieces of shit. And I think Maxwell, like, they deserve the death penalty. And others involved, they should as well.
Dude, my
You gotta
favorite
overturn
thing is
Plyer
when
versus Doe.
Epstein. There was that thing where Epstein said Trump is the worst person I ever met, and the Dems like posted that.
I
and were
saw
like,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not meant to be. That's not doing what you think it's doing. But
Well,
also,
it was also like that one post the other day where the Democrats like took Trump's quote where there's like people have known about what Epstein is doing and they try to paint it like it's a bad thing. Meanwhile, he's saying like, "I'm glad you guys are finally going after Jeffrey Epstein."
Oh, it's just, again, like,
people are morons.
I support
Yeah.
charging anybody involved. My take is you can prove it, charge them, investigate them. I just haven't seen anybody else. As clear as Epstein and Maxwell and some of these other people, they did shit. But those wild conspiracies about the freaking the 19th the golf course, the freaking they buried a body under there in the 90s. There's the
I think my favorite one is the one where it's like, hey, I was trafficked to a 13-year-old Epstein.
Yep,
and, like,
that's
a
about- yep.
16-year-old Trump, and I'm like, so true, so true. Yep. And then there's the other one where it was there was one where it was like two police reports right next to each other, and all the Democrats were focusing on the one where some guy heard someone who said they knew someone who got killed by Trump or whatever, and then the one before it is the person got like trafficked to like Biden and the Norwegian royal family and Clinton, and it's like, okay, so that one's fake, but the one involving Trump, yeah, you guys think that one
Well,
is 100% real. So true.
and now apparently there's like another affidavit out there people are talking about is like talking about like shape-shifting stuff. I'm not even joking.
My gosh.
Apparently there's
I mean,
yeah, it's like a real document where they're talking like shape-shifting. People are saying, guys, this is proof Epstein was a shapeshifter. It was like, what? What are we doing here?
dude, that's
I mean-
like, dude, that's like Candace Owens level of like crackpot nonsense.
I mean, if anyone could actually get like arrested over the stuff that's happened, it's probably Prince Andrew right now.
yeah, Prince
I,
Andrew.
Yeah, maybe
I
that-
think
what's
he's the
his name,
only person
Mandelson?
that's obvious.
maybe like that
Yeah.
Mandelson guy. What's his name? Peter Mandelson.
Oh yeah,
Maybe-
the guy who was the ambassador to the U.S.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
like-
he might be done.
Those people,
And
I agree.
possibly Michael McSweeney.
Yeah, like Prince Andrew, these other pieces of shit, they should be arrested. I think it's clear as day. Like they were doing some sketchy stuff on the island. It's clear as day. In my
Well,
opinion.
even
but-
King Charles basically all but said like, look, we're not going to interfere in this. Like, if like the police can do what they want with Prince Andrew, and that he should comply with the authorities.
Yeah,
So
that's
pretty much a
that's
sign that
admitting
he's, like,
it.
he'll probably be the face of like a lot of the like like arresting people and stuff because like we have stuff on Prince Andrew.
Yeah, and like I support that 100%. I
Yeah,
100%
absolutely.
support that. You could prove that. That's clear as day in my opinion. Though those cases are like it's all but a given. They were doing shit.
I should point out too, like the stuff with Prince Andrew. I mean, if you paid attention to this stuff for a while, well, there were allegations of Prince Andrew with Epstein, like back in like 2019.
Yeah.
I recall. I think didn't Virginia Jeffrey accuse him of stuff
Yeah.
back in 2019. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, like those always were the most valid ones because there even back then there was evidence to suggest, dude, what are you doing at the island? Well, what's going on here? What's
Mhm.
going on? And those were the actual like those were the actual like claims and stuff back then. It just this other wild stuff came out of nowhere. These schizophrenics say, yeah, the body was buried under the 19th hole that does not exist in a golf course Trump did not even own at that point. Hell, it wasn't even built at that point, for crying out loud.
Yeah, one other thing I want to mention is there's the email in which Epstein's like thanking someone for a torture video or whatever, and everyone jumped to the conclusion like, oh hey, this is children or whatever. But if you look the email date and like 2 days earlier, there was news back then of one of the like princes of Saudi Arabia or whatever having the videos where he's torturing like an adult guy. It's like shoving sand down his mouth and probably
Yeah,
killing him.
let's not get the details. I know what you're talking
Gosh.
about.
That's all I'm going with.
Oh.
Yeah.
But what I find hilarious is that the guy who sent the email to Epstein isn't being ostracized because he had the video or whatever. Like that was public info in 2009. He's being ostracized because he sent it specifically to Epstein. That's how insane the
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, it's a good thing he's being ostracized now, but it probably should have happened, I don't know, in 2009 when this happened.
In my opinion, like, yeah, something like that. It's good that a lot of these scumbags are being forced out. That's a good thing. That like I'm happy. Some of these big names, they're being forced out. They're being like good. But it's like that does not mean they did anything illegal. And we've been trying to explain this for God knows how many weeks now. Just because you knew Epstein does not mean you did anything illegal. It's like the Frank Reynolds or whatever his name is. You know what I'm talking about? He went to the island.
Yeah, from It's Always Sunny or whatever.
Yeah. It's like, listen, he was only there for the snorkeling or whatever. He was not there for their stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's clear that, Epstein just like objectively, he was good at networking, being able to talk to people to get in touch with other people. Like that is an objective fact, seeming how despite doing nothing of importance, he talked to everyone. And there are people with that skills in real life. I mean, it's not that hard to network.
And again, like I do agree though that I think at the end of the day there should be more investigations into some of this stuff.
Mhm.
Why were people going to the island? Why did Howard Lutnick lie about that? What a dumb shit for lying about that. He's probably screwed now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's glad we have like again, if you want better insight into this stuff, America First Insights have a lot of tweets on this stuff already. And go if you want entertainment, look at the comments for half this stuff.
Yes, that's entertainment. So.
I mean, yeah.
I still have yet to hear an actual argument from Rich Barris about Steve Bannon being in the files. By the way,
He has pretended it never happened. It never happened. It's so magic.
At this point, can we ignore Richard Barris and
Yes.
the Rasmussen guy, Mark Mitchell?
Listen,
Can we
I-
just ignore them?
I'm
They
not
are
going to diss on Mark
clowns.
Mitchell. Not going to diss on him, but
No, he's a complete moron. His stories. Okay, the stories he gets, he makes 2022 Rufus look like a truth teller. Like he just makes up shit. It's a repeat of Rufus.
no, that's Barris. Remember, Barris the one that claimed, guys, I went to this random restaurant and freaking these random people are talking about exactly what I believe in, word for word. That was Barris. I gotta find that tweet.
Yeah, no, Barris did that once. Mark Mitchell just posts the DMs he gets from 3-time Trump voters who have been betrayed. and
Yeah.
such.
Again,
That
like I'm not
reminds me
gonna.
of when Rufus talked about how he would like meet people in
That's
bathrooms.
exactly what I mean.
I forgot about that.
I still remember like the one story he had where he's like, I went to this one restaurant, like I saw this one guy with a DeSantis hat, and we both talked about how much we hated Trump, and I'm like, yeah, that totally
And he
happened,
was like
dude.
very attractive, 6'5".
Oh my gosh. Oh
Elite
man.
human capital with a DeSantis hat.
Yeah. President Gilbert Giddy up for 5. Who else mentioned the Epstein files that Thomas Massey's going to stay in there? Mickey Mouse, Willy Wonka, Iron Man. I'm waiting for that list. Well, I mean, again, you actually look at what's actually been said in it.
Release the Massey files. We the people
Yeah.
need them.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I think that's kind of just like, you know.
To be fair, Winnie the Pooh does appear in the Epstein files. There is a photo of him in there. Just saying,
I thought that was G.
Wow.
I thought that was G, dude.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. So enough of that. I guess we could segue out of that because, the Epstein stuff, that's going to go on for a
You
while.
wanna
But
cover the Herrera poll real quick because that's pretty big.
yeah, Herrera is up by, I think, 4 or 5. So,
Yeah,
think
in the
it's
second
9 in
round,
the
it was up by
runoff.
like 9.
yeah. I think he's going to win.
I'll reply to it so you can. I sent it
Yeah,
earlier.
Yeah.
So you can pull it up. This is
it's
pretty
not that
big
far up.
because this is one of the primaries we really are interested.
I think
in.
Herrera's going to win. I think the scandal's going to sink Gonzalez. That's my
Yeah,
take.
he's up 10 in the runoff. Because keep in mind, the first round, there's other candidates as well, which is why he's not up
Yeah,
by
right
that
here.
much. So it'll probably go to a runoff again.
Yeah, and 90% of those people are going to back Herrera, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Which, by the way,
Yeah,
Mark,
from
did
what
you
I
guys,
heard, Herrera's met both of them, and both of them sound like they'll support him
Yeah.
in the second round.
Mark, did America First Since like back Herrera yet, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's
was
what I
one of the
thought.
First, like Texas endorsements we
Yeah.
did.
The only
I wanna-
problem is Trump might get involved against Herrera.
Yeah.
We'll see.
That's what's concerning. I'm fearful this might be another case of like William Timmons against Adam Morgan in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Remember that primary?
I remember that.
I'm a little concerned about that.
The question really comes down to is like APAC and whoever else is backing like
God.
Gonzalez, are they going to be able to outspend Herrera like 9-1 or whatever? And I also want to state a very important thing, right? So Gonzalez won the runoff by like I think it's like 300
500 votes.
400 votes, something like that in 2023. If you look at the redrawn 23, it's very similar. However, Gonzalez did lose a part of a county where he got a net 3,000 runoff votes. So that can like genuinely make it or break it. It's one of the northern counties. So yeah, the
It's
redraw
interesting.
does affect this a bit.
Another thing I'll say, Herrera's getting Gonzalez is still outspending Herrera. That's going to happen. He's an incumbent, but Gonzalez is getting a lot less money than he did last time, and Herrera
Yes.
is
Yeah.
and Herrera's getting a lot more money. So if you look at the fundraising, it's a lot closer. Way
Yeah,
closer.
it's not
than
like
last
it's
time.
not like a
actually
10,
a
10 to
competition.
1.
It's actually a competition because that scandal has made Gonzalez kind of toxic to a lot of donors.
Yeah, it's not good. But okay.
I don't know why Trump endorsed Gonzalez. That's like one of his few actual.
Because the
L's.
problem with
Yeah.
the problem Trump has is you got to deal with Thomas Massey in the House, so you don't got much room to work with.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the reason
All the-
he's
all the
against Herrera, I
endorsements,
think.
all the
Massey has
endorsements
caused
he's
so
doing
much
is for
damage.
incumbent votes.
Like,
No,
I-
Massey has caused so much damage.
Well, you know what it is? It's because Trump. I'm not saying this is right here because, like, obviously, I don't like Tony Gonzalez. Trump does not want to endorse someone who is probably going to be like another Thomas Massey in the House. Where
Yeah.
they intentionally just kind of give him problems, and I think Trump is worried that Brandon Herrera is going to be like that. And I'm not saying that to diss Brandon Herrera. I'm just because like I support him in that primary because I know Trump also endorsed like I forget who's like the one guy that everybody was talking about. He was good, and then Trump endorsed against him because
That's
he was like a massive
Georgia.
supporter.
That's Georgia 14, where everyone, including AFI, we want Colton Moore and
That's
Trump went
right,
with,
Colton Moore, thank you.
Clay Fuller, I think, and then it was like found like a week later, that Colton Moore had like tweeted like we stand with Massey and stuff, which I can totally see because ultimately, Trump just wants the votes. He needs the votes. I mean, if you even look at like Tony Gonzalez, right? He did terrible in the 117th and 118th Congresses. He just did awful. And then when he almost loses his primary, he suddenly started voting very good. Same exact thing happened with Mike Bost, where he was a terrible vote. He almost lost a primary, and he's been a decent vote since then because these
Yeah.
guys want to keep the cushy job, you know.
Want the
You
free
know who
money.
else-
$74,000.
You know who else was like that? Michael Guest was also like that too.
Yeah.
Even Timmons votes pretty good since he almost lost.
All right.
Well, because you know what? Because sometimes, like, if these people feel like they're threatened, it means they're like, "Oh shoot, I actually have to start voting better now. Otherwise, I'm gonna lose my race now."
Yeah, and it proves like you can primary incumbents out. You can. You just like you need enough willpower, but yeah. Okay, couple super chats cut you to American Nerd for 2. Is it 50 or 51 because of Fetterman? Fetterman for the Save America Act. He might vote yes. We'll see. President Gilbert Giddy up for 2. Walter White to the Epstein files. That's real. Riley Moore for 5. Jasper Crockett says Trump and MAGA are unpatriotic, unlike Democrats. Oh gosh. Jack O'Max for 2. Will we have a Kentucky GOP primary stream on May 19th? Yes, we will. I'm hoping. I don't care.
I will say, Nate Morris is surging.
Yeah, he's gonna.
He is,
I think he's
like,
gonna win.
He was at like 3% like just 2 months ago. Now he's at like 15. So people are like, "Oh, he's way behind everyone
polling
else."
identically to like Vance, where Vance was at
Vance.
like
It was
3%
Vance.
forever, and then suddenly was like 10, 15, then got the Trump endorsement and then won.
That Musk money, I think that's confirmation. Trump's
Musk
gonna back
too.
him.
And
Yeah,
also,
that-
and also, he's got Trump Jr. supporting him. TPUSA is supporting.
Musk is
him. He's
backing
got a
him.
lot of big people backing him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Musk gave him
If
10
I-
million. Yeah, if I too. But yeah, I mean, like, I think he's gonna win. I think he's gonna win. It
I
just,
do too.
I like that Musk endorsement or that check he wrote out. To me, Trump's been coordinating with Musk a lot lately. That's probably a sign they're gonna work together again. So,
Mhm.
but again, we're waiting for the Thomas Massey thing. That's
I kind of figured that Trump might, because like Trump Jr. endorsed Nate
Yeah.
Morris a while ago. Like, and usually like Trump Jr. is sometimes like a sign of things to come. Like if he endorses
with Vance.
someone, then
Was it
Trump's
did,
probably later on.
did he endorse Vance?
Trump Jr. did endorse. Yeah, Trump Jr. is the reason we got Vance.
Yeah.
Arguably, he's the one. I think he's the one who introduced Vance to Trump himself.
All right. Corey Mills. Yeah, Corey Mills should just leave. I don't care what it takes. Get rid of him.
Yeah.
Now Sabatini though. Hell no.
Sabatini would be at this point would be a thorn in our. He would be
He would be shit.
another person who would
He'd
just
be a-
cause problems.
Well, also
unfortunately.
Sabatini isn't even Sabatini like lives in FL11, and he's not
Yeah.
going to come back to the Seminole County.
I know,
uh,
but just
Well,
thing.
because he moved to primary Daniel Webster last year.
No,
right?
he moved to be in the 2022 FL7 race. He always was based in Howey in the Hills over in Lake County and such.
Gotcha.
But the thing with Corey Mills, like him being endorsed, just no one is running against incumbents here in
problem.
Florida. And
Mhm.
and that's just the fact of it. Like, one, Trump wants to keep votes because when someone is not running for re-election, they can vote however they want, or they can just resign and leave. I mean, look at Thome or whatever. He's not running for re-election. He's voting however he wants. He doesn't care. He'll sink whatever he feels like. But when someone needs the pressure, like Cassidy in Louisiana right now, he's still trying to present himself as like the MAGA option, which is hilarious, I think. So he's trying to vote really good to try and like at least have a chance of winning. He clearly doesn't want to lose. So
Yeah.
I see someone in the chat saying replace Mills with Jay Collins. So Jay Collins is a Tampa based person. So if Collins were to run, he'd probably run for Vern Buchanan's redrawn seat, if anything. But yeah.
all right. So, anyways, I think I want to segue to one more main subject, and it's something about America First Insight tweeted last night, I think it was, and it relates to the deportation thing because there was an article from I think CBS News that talked about the voluntary. Is it called voluntary departure? Right.
I think that's the exact wording. I could be
Yeah.
incorrect.
Detained cases ending in voluntary removal. So okay, everybody knows there's been a lot of debate about how many deportations Trump has gotten. Now, some people are claiming they deported nobody, which is just wrong, objectively bullshit. But at the same time, people are wondering how did they reach 700,000 or whatever they're claiming on top of 2 million self deportations, which again, that's another metric that's kind of iffy. But well, CBS News, I think they got a I have no clue how they got this data, but apparently there is in these detention centers, there is something called a voluntary departure or removal. And according to the reports, 28% of detained cases end in a voluntary removal, which, by the way, is the highest in recorded history. And in fact, I believe the month of December was like 40% or something like that.
It might have peaked. It's probably getting more and more as it goes on.
Yeah, 49% or 39%, 38%. So what this basically means is a quarter to 40% of old people in detention centers, they leave on their own. Not back in the country, back to God knows where. Now, Mark, why is this important to mention?
So, the fun fact revolving around this is that those type of people leaving the country, those voluntary departures, do not count as a deportation in internal records because that's not what a deportation specifically is. Which this goes back to the whole thing where people are like, "Oh, hey, Obama did so many deportations." There's the definition of deportation is very whatever you want it to be kind of situation.
It changes
It's
from
whatever you
admin
want.
to admin.
Yes, it does. Which is why when you're looking at deportations, the most important number to actually look at is something called interior removals. This is what, when you hear the word deportation, you think of ICE or Border Patrol knocking on someone's door, cuffing them, and getting them out of the country. That would be called an interior removal. And so, an important thing is that with all these self departures, those are not counting as interior removals because they just aren't interior
Yeah.
removals.
And remember, this is actually separate from self deportations, or what term are they using for the other one?
Returns.
No,
Are you talking about returns?
no, like the ones that
there's
like
deportations, there's returns.
Voluntary
no,
deportations.
the one where they use that shitty app, like the freaking like they get paid
Oh,
$2,000.
the CBP app.
I think that's under self deportations because self deportations is not like a real.
Yeah, it's not a
term,
real thing.
Sort of. It's kind of whatever you want to count as a self deportation is
Yeah,
a self deportation.
And this is huge because based on the metrics we got, I think the Guardian reported around 300,000 interior removals, right? So like 300,000.
Give or take 300,000. Give or take 300,000, like early mid December, and then if you count January, we know 75,000 people were detained, and if you also add like visas being revoked, I don't know, it could put interior removals somewhat almost, or what you would want to call an interior removal, somewhere around like 500,000 ish,
Yeah.
give or take.
Because that's a huge thing. You got to include the other shit like people leave on their own, people that get detained, but they leave on their like a voluntary removal, the self deportations. You factor that in. That's how you end up with 700,000, or whatever they're claiming it is.
Well, that 700,000 also probably
It includes
counts,
apprehensions.
Yeah, the returns at the border, because, and this is where Obama and Bush and Clinton kind of also all had like big spikes. So what happens is interior removals specifically need to be like, I think it's 100 miles away from the border. So any deportations that happens within like 100 miles of the border, give or take, is count as a return, which basically means you get caught at the border, like, and they kind of bring you to a center, and then they give you like a bus ticket, and you get shipped back to Mexico. And does that count as a deportation? Does it not? That's kind of your call. And that's why I think keeping track of interior removals is the most important thing, because that's what actually matters. A lot of people are like, oh, Obama had so many removals, but if you look at it, I mean, he had a bunch of returns, which in order to spike up returns, you need to open the border a little so they walk into the country and then kick them out. In terms
No.
of actual interior removals, which returns removals. It's confusing. In terms of actual interior removals, Obama never. I think year one he had like almost 200,000. The past that he was almost at 100,000 yearly, and that was more of ICE collecting people from jail and shipping them out, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. So that's that's
And then
why.
you
Oh,
and then you get into the whole things with the fact with DACA and the fact that he had policies like catch and release, where they would like just bring like illegals back on the streets, to where like, okay, even if he did something, that's immediately counteracted by these policies as well.
yeah. So that's why like we are getting actual deportations, and this is why you got to actually look into the numbers. Don't ignore the headlines. I've learned quickly not to do that. The last couple of months, I realized, oh wait a minute, if you actually look at what the administration is doing, they have done a lot more than you would think. Like the H-1B visa stuff, like the USCIS, they changed the regulations on that, and now suddenly no one in India can get a visa, which is hilarious. But
And another important thing, right, is it also, like, people who say like, oh, he's not doing mass deportations. Biden let in however many million. Let's go with 20 million people enter the country. We're not going to be on pace to remove that many people. Well, fun fact, I hate to say it, opening the door and letting them in is like 1,000 times easier than kicking them out. I mean, if you look at Operation Wetback, for example, right? Operation Wetback, like, the actual documents we have suggests only about like 30,000 interior removals and like a total of like 300,000 what could be classified as like a deportation, and about 1 million self deportations, give or take. It really depends on what source you use. But like, mass deportations are like a giant pain in the rear to actually accomplish. It's an incredibly like complex logistical problem with a lot of moving factors. And just the fact that Trump has reached anywhere from 400 to 500,000 interior removals in the first year is like record breaking, insane numbers. Just
and
when you put in
theoretically,
context
Yeah.
of everyone.
we're getting
And also, when you have to consider too that something of this scale has never been tried before in like American history. Again, even with Operation Wetback, it's like it's almost not really comparable,
you can't.
because most of the illegals were like along the border and stuff. Like, they weren't like directly in the country. Now we have
They're
the
across
case where
country.
you have all the illegals are across the countries, and some of them are being protected because of like the BS sanctuary city status, and stuff like, or like Democratic governors and mayors not actually assisting in the deportation efforts, like we saw in Minnesota, for example.
Well, that's the issue. I mean, and people are like not understand this. Like Operation Wetback was a huge success, but there wasn't as many illegals, obviously, for crying out loud. And on top of that, they were all in like Texas and like New Mexico.
And
And
also,
Arizona.
it's
Yeah.
also simply that like people were more against illegals back then, and also you didn't have a smartphone. You're not going to get like a newspaper showing like these tactics of how they actually get these people. And another thing I want to bring up real quick is that if you look at the ICE deportations by percent of like criminal convictions or pending charges, right?
I keep bringing this up too.
Under everyone basically before Trump, it was like 90, 95, maybe even 99% people who have a criminal conviction or has a pending charge, which means ICE didn't go grab them. ICE got them like while they were in jail or from a jail. Trump is down to like 57% have a pending or criminal conviction, which means there's a whole lot of people whose only, violation is immigration law, which, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's not a crime. It's a crime, whatever. Point is, he's getting what many people would call a non-criminal illegal. And this is like numbers that are insane to grasp before Trump.
But no, don't you know it's been told to us they're only going after the criminals.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
almost like he's trying to play politics. It's insane how the right sucks at politics because we refuse to play it because we get played by it ourselves.
Well, and again, I
Yeah.
think some of the rhetoric can be a little bit better, but like, guys, they've said this 100 times now. Oh, we're only going after the criminals, and then you read it between the lines. They're saying, "Oh yeah, by the way, everybody that crossed the border is criminal."
Yeah. Like, there are legitimate criticisms to like have of the admin, like, on immigration. Like, if anything, you could probably criticize them for not applying more pressure to the House to like end OPT verification or like lower like EB5s and stuff like that. But like
Yeah.
on H1Bs, they've done like the most that they can do right now,
And I would
as
also
far as I
argue,
can tell.
I mean, like there are things like there are levels, there are levers they have not pulled yet on legal immigration. They haven't.
Yeah.
There are things they can do that they I wish they would do, but they haven't. There are ways you can deport more people faster, but like I understand what they're trying to do. Like you cannot deport 20 million people in a year or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Well,
Right?
oh yeah,
Or you're not even going to get them in 4 years. Like that's
You're-
just the fact. Like tough. It's easier to open
Ma-
the door
well,
than it is to kick someone out.
Maybe self deportations because there's a lot of them, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I
You're-
think
you're reminding me
self-deportations
of-
will slow down over time.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're reminding me of Mark Mitchell's comment of like the supposed 3-time Trump voter who said he wouldn't vote in 2026 unless there was 20 million illegals deported. And I'm like, what are you a real person?
The only way you could deport 20 million illegals, if people say, "Oh, Iran could do it" or whatever, it's like, guys, we're not Iran.
Iran's a dictatorship, you moron. Like they can do whatever they want.
And Iran is
We are
way
not
smaller.
A dictatorship.
People understand
I
Iran
mean,
is significantly
that too.
smaller.
We also have this little thing called the Constitution. Shockingly enough, kind of makes it hard to just like kick anyone out at all,
Mhm.
even. So yeah, there was like one person in my comments at one point was like, Trump term 1 destroyed ISIS. Why can't he do the same to Antifa here in America? And I'm like, have
It
you
is
read the
quite literally-
Constitution?
It is quite literally easier to kidnap a foreign leader than it is like to go after Antifa. I'm not even
And-
joking.
And that
Yeah.
was the president's main goals historically were more foreign policy oriented than domestic policy generally, because most of the domestic policy had to be achieved through Congress.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the founding fathers sat out the president to enforce the laws, and that's it. I mean, even the idea of like a presidential veto was like very late to the party kind of thing. Congress is supposed to write laws, Senate is supposed to write laws, and that's it. The idea that we have like a president who's all powerful is very more modern politics because people just blame the one person they can name kind of deal.
I think really, if anyone's to blame for this, it's probably FDR more than anyone else.
100%.
FDR was the one who really. I mean, even I guess you could even argue Lincoln as well too, given that Lincoln had to act, but he was more unique for his time because he was literally dealing with a civil war. FDR just literally consolidated power into the executive branch and vastly expanded the federal
Yeah.
government.
Remember when he was to do with the Supreme Court? Look that one up if you don't know.
Yeah, he tried to pack the Supreme Court.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but just like people understand, like I've been critical of Trump. I think he's been too focused on foreign policy in some areas, but guys, like you're the president. You're focused on foreign policy. It's not freaking 1820 or whatever. It's like
Also, like Biden's foreign policy was terrible. I mean, obviously, I don't blame him for like the Israel-Hamas war, but like he was funding both Israel and Palestine at the same time. Like, what do you do? You're literally like paying for these people to kill each other. Like, what?
Yeah.
What is this?
I remember Barnes being furious we nabbed Maduro. He's legit a commie sympathizer because populism, but then screaming we don't nab Tim Walz and Mark Carney. Well, I remember these idiots like want us to go get like Bolsonaro, like save him for Brazil, which I would be against that. But like, wait a minute, how can you support get freeing Bolsonaro, but be opposed to kidnapping Maduro? Which, by the way, Venezuela is like we own it now. They do whatever we say to do.
Aren't there rumors that like Bolsonaro is hiding in like Florida right now too?
Yeah, there's rumors about that.
We should give him asylum.
We should.
Mhm.
I'm personally a big fan of Alexander Hamilton's view of presidential power. I don't know. Oh my gosh, yeah, the populism thing is just like people are realizing how much slop there is with populism or slopulism.
Well,
Well,
'cause a
you
big
know,
thing, a big thing about it is just like the objective fact is like governing is boring, right? And
Yep.
you also have to read up like so much stuff in order to figure it out. Like, I'm gonna transition a bit into this. People like, why doesn't the Trump admin go after employers? Oh my God, it'd be so easy. Just start arresting employers and that's it. Like Reagan, made Reagan helped pass the law, the Immigration Control Act of 1986 and whatnot. That guess what makes it very, very difficult to prosecute employers for hiring illegals. Like it's a nightmare. I have a tweet about this where I go over like all the issues with it, and you know, just the fact is there was so much stuff at play. Like even you Rap, you tweeted out on Jan 29th, you're like, Trump could deal with a bunch of illegals by clamping down on ITIN. You know, Trump did try to do that in April 2025, and then there was a federal
Yeah, I
judge
forgot about
injunction.
that. I honestly forgot about
People
that.
forget about it because it's boring. No one cares, in such like headline politics, it's hard to remember or hard to keep up so much. So, and there are other people who are like, Trump needs to, go after the banks who are letting illegals bank here. Fun fact, not a crime. Banks are allowed to have stuff for illegals. They just need to know who the person is and whatnot. There's privacy laws that like surround that type of stuff. It's there's a lot of stuff happening with government, and it's boring, but it's important and explains a lot on how things are actually happening.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing too is that I mean, negativity sells more than anything else. Too.
100%. I mean, again, it's good to be critical when they do dumb stuff. I think the administration made some fuck ups with messaging, especially Epstein stuff. We're not going back on the subject, but that was a fuck up from the get go. Bonnie should have kept their mouth shut. That was stupid. But it's like, guys, I made a whole freaking article talking about everything Trump promised to do and what he did. Not one person has debunked anything in that article. Not one. It's as if you got to look at in between the noise and actually look at what Trump's doing or not.
And so much of it is not only boring, but it also takes time. Like I think the best example of this is how many day one executive orders Trump did, and then how long it took for those executive orders to actually happen. I think the best example, right?
The World Health Organization.
Yeah, exactly. I think that took like a year or whatever. One of the other ones is Trump signed day one. It was like within the first like 10 executive orders he signed or whatever, and it simply said, hey, open up Alaska to let us do some drilling and stuff. It took the EPA 9 months to do internal reviews because Zeldin was also like passed like really quickly, so he was there basically the whole time. It took them 9 months to basically go, yeah, okay, it's fine, you can drill there. Like, internal rule changes like that do not happen instantly. They take a long time to get passed through everyone, and that's also just some of the issue. The executive branch is not very fast. How many times have you gone to a DMV? You have to wait like 4 hours. Now imagine, DMV being the entire branch of part of the executive branch. It takes forever to do everything.
Well, and people nobody also talks about the fact is like you said, it takes a while for this stuff to go into effect, and at the same time, people just make it sound like for example, Doge is dead. Doge just released a freaking one of the largest bombshells of Medicaid ever. With it's open source thing where you can look at everything people spent on for Medicaid.
Yeah, and also Doge has still been working. Even the people who are big on Doge still they don't ever interact with the Doge account. I did the math. Doge has saved the same amount or more money from April 2025 to today that it did between February and April. And a big reason it's slowed down is because obviously it's a lot harder to find these wasteful government contracts, which is like most of Doge. Doge never really did fraud because it was designed to find wasteful government contracts, which is different, and it's also not a crime. No one's really going to be going to jail over Doge stuff unless there were kickbacks, because having the federal government overpay for Adobe is not a crime. There's no law that's the government must pay market rates.
Yeah,
for
you're not going to prove
Adobe
that they work
program.
And you're not going to prove that they work with Adobe to overcharge the government. You can't prove that. So, American Nerd for 2. Bolsonaro son is running for president in Brazil. I saw that. Yeah.
He's polling right now to beat Lula too, I believe.
Yeah, but
Don't worry, the CI will make it right.
I mean, oh gosh. I mean, honestly, now that we got a CIA, and by the way, US aid, which nobody talks about, that's dead. Funny how that works. Like
Yeah.
U.S. aid magically dies, and all these South American countries become conservative, right wing. Funny how
Yeah.
that works.
We also technically I believe we defunded PBS
Yes,
as
we
well
did.
too, and
Yes.
NPR.
And nobody talks
Yes.
about this.
And we also cut the UN budget that we were giving them because we just give the UN a bunch of money. We went from $17 billion under the last year of Biden down to $2 billion. And Marco Rubio said, you better like streamline everything because next year you're getting even less money. Like this type of stuff like is important, but it just doesn't matter. It's not headliney enough.
Yeah, but guys, like the people on Twitter are saying like Trump has not done anything, even though the federal government's now the smallest it's been since the freaking 60s.
Yeah, there are, and also you have to think about how many additional like DHS employees have been hired as well.
Yeah.
And we have a federal government that's the smallest has been since 1966. Like, and there are people who still think like that's not enough or whatever. It's like, guys, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, a perfect world, like, by the way, it's kind of funny we fire all these people and nothing changed. Nothing's happened to the government. Funny how that works. But it's
Gotten
like,
better, in fact.
yeah, it's already better now. You got like all these accounts are like, I know social media isn't everything, but it's like the social media stuff's is significantly better after we fired a bunch of people, which is just freaking hilarious.
Well,
but,
and you have to think too. I mean, we've had like how many years of like all this like bureaucratic hellscape control.
God.
We've had like all this like we had Roe v. Wade for over 50 years where that got overturned. Same thing with affirmative action. Yeah, like no wonder it's taking us so long to do this because those were in law for
Yeah.
so long.
These people are entrenched. Like people understand. Like this shit started in the 30s, really, with FDR. That's when the shit really started. The fourth branch of the government. You can argue before, but like it was really FDR that kind of started it. Then Lyndon B. Johnson just went off the rails with it. But this super chat shit. K Comfort 5. Trump hasn't been perfect, but we always have to remember just how much Biden not just messed with the U.S., but also how much he screwed up globally. Yeah. How close were we to World War III? Like considering compared to today or whatever.
Well, if you ask the doomsday clock people, we're closer today.
Freaking dumb shits. We end the war in Gaza and like the Russian-Ukraine war's gone nowhere, but now we're at the closest point to World War III ever. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, and also another thing people don't give Trump credit for is like he has de-escalated various conflicts like Armenia and Azerbaijan. He de-escalated India and Pakistan as well too. There's been like a couple of others, but those are like the two bigger ones.
There's been progress. Like I'm not happy with some of the foreign policy stuff. Again, like I think the Iranian thing, you don't bomb them, just do what the CIA did in the 50s.
No, you always trust Trump on foreign policy.
I know. I know. Like
that's how I have lived my life. I think whatever briefings he get, he knows what he's doing.
Like,
and that's another thing. Like, people like acting like they have the same info as Trump. You do not. You do not get whatever classified briefings with whatever real info that Trump and Marco Rubio are getting. Like, you do not have all the information.
And like, listen, after the Venezuela thing, I 100% trust Trump. Like, again, I still don't know if it's the best idea to go Iran. I still think the best route is just to do what the CIA did in the 50s, where it's like, hey guys, here's some guns that magically appeared.
Well,
I think there was a report that we put Starlink
we did
routers over in Iran too. And like another thing is the Iranian government, a big reason they're struggling right now is because their inflation year over year is I think like 60 or 70%. Like,
oh my gosh.
People don't like governments when they suffer economically. Like most people could care less if, there's a dictator or a republic or whatever, as long as they themselves are comfortable.
Yeah.
And the people of Iran could not be comfortable when you have 60% year
and
over year.
And Iran proposes a $7 check to everybody. This solution. Yeah, but just again, like I want to wait and see. But the thing with Iran is like Trump has got he's got an incredibly what's a word for foreign policy? Like both lucky and like a genius at the same time.
I just think he knows foreign policy good.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you look at what Trump's been saying recently, he's been saying a lot like, hey, we just want to make a deal with Iran. Even when it's being reported like Israel just wants to go to strikes right now, he's been saying, let's try and make a deal. Let's try and make a deal and whatnot.
Yeah,
He's been
because
publicly saying it.
because he just opposed their efforts to like further annex the West Bank and like their attempts to try to get like Palestinians to like sell to like Israelis there.
Wow, it's as if there's more nuance to that situation.
More nuance in foreign policy?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, like, listen again. Like, I'm not. Everybody knows my opinion on Israel. I'm one that was anti like Netanyahu people here. I'm like, I don't like.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a shit show. But it's like, guys, there's more nuance to it. There's stuff we don't know. There, like Trump has been pushing back against some of the West Bank stuff, for example. Like, there's more to the story. It's not just like, oh,
Well,
okay.
and also if you look more into like the construction of the Board of Peace, Israel was not happy with the fact that Turkey and Qatar, I think even the UAE, were a part, like had a seat at the Board of Peace. Like they were very very angry
Yeah,
about that.
I mean, he really stacked the deck against them in the Board of Peace. So it's like, what? Like, guys, again, there's more to the story. There's more nuance. You gotta be careful with foreign policy. I'm not a foreign policy expert. All right, I'm not. Trump, he does shit that seems like insane at first, but then 5 minutes later, people realize, oh, we could kidnap the leader of Venezuela and lose nobody, and now they're
Well,
a puppet.
And also, I kind of hate this. Like people are acting like Trump never like bombed anyone at all or did anything his first term. It's like, what do you
Remember
remember
Syria?
Soleimani? Soleimani?
Yeah, I mean, literally the start. Everyone remembers 2020 as like, oh, COVID and everything, but like the start to January, especially of 2020, like go look at media from that time. The whole thing was we're going into World War III because we bombed Solomon.
We bombed the Soleimani.
I mean,
Nothing
there's
happened.
also like the article where Trump straight up he had like 50 like targets marked in Iran if they did something against it, like cultural and political and military. Like he was ready.
Yeah.
You know. And that's the thing, like a big reason to oppose like all the foreign intervention, especially under other people, is that they're bad at it. They are like,
Yeah, you
if Biden tried to do the Venezuela thing, it would
Oh
end
my
horrifically, and
God.
we'd have a billion refugees coming in here.
Yeah, you would have
But
ended
Trump
up
doesn't
with
do that.
Yeah, because again, how Trump does regime change is again, yeah, with regime change you gotta be super careful because we all know what regime change could turn into. But what he did in Venezuela is ingenious. You don't topple the entire government. You topple the top guy, and the second person you say either, hey, you listen to us, or we're going down the list. And
Yeah,
that's what happened.
and that's
Mhm.
the thing where Trump understands, like, hey, if I go in and topple the whole current regime, like, it's not gonna like win. Like right now, if you implemented like a modern democracy, republic, whatever, into Iran, it probably would be a disaster. Guess what? You'd probably get
Yeah.
the exact same people voted into power, and that's how he goes. Like a lot of people want the Shah, who's been out of the country for 30 years. Like, oh, Trump's gonna go in there and put him in charge. If anything happens in Iran, it's probably like number 3 or number 4 in charge of the country right now will become number 1. And that's it. That's how he does it.
What I think's gonna happen is they're gonna do a couple military strikes and they're gonna kidnap the supreme leader. That's my take in the president.
Yeah.
They're gonna probably yank the two.
I think they'll let him run to
Yeah.
Russia.
Oh
and
yeah,
just
they'll
live in
let
Russia
him
for
like
the rest of his life.
escape.
Well,
Yeah.
and even I still think even if the worst case scenario happens and like we bomb like Iran to smithereens, which I don't
We're
support,
not going to.
I don't see that escalating to World War III.
What is
Right
Russia
now.
gonna
Like,
do?
yeah, do you see Russia or China like going to war over Iran?
Russia, China, they're bailing on Iran for crying out loud. They're bailing on
Well, and
them.
Russia always tried to have like some diplomatic ties with Israel as well too. Like I think
Yeah,
Putin's been kind of
like
50-50.
yeah, well, Russia's whole thing is Russia is generally like their global strategy is to be pretty just nice to everyone, acknowledge their legitimacy. Like that's how Russia is dealing with Africa and whatnot. But the thing is Russia also its alliances in like Venezuela and in Iran is purely to manipulate the oil market.
Yeah.
They don't care about anything else. And right now, they themselves are undercutting the oil market by selling it to like other people. That's why like things like the trade deal with India and telling India to stop buying Russian oil is more important to them than anything that happens in Iran. They don't
Yeah, and now
they don't.
now suddenly Russia's like, hey, we wanna use a dollar now. We wanna work with America now. Funny how that works.
Yeah, and it's because like at the end of the day, and I think it would be more beneficial that we start having decent relations with Russia, and I think there's a lot of like similar goals in terms of like economics that Russia and the US would have long term if things ever worked out than there would be with like anyone else.
You're a
So
Russian shill for saying
And
that.
also, I think Russia acknowledges that they do not have the military capacity to take on the United States because their biggest historical advantage that they were heavily populated is they no longer have that
Yeah, they don't got the manpower.
anymore.
yeah,
And I really think that Venezuelan strike woke a lot of people up because that was the Russian defense system and Chinese defense systems in Venezuela. And
Well,
that's
and
not going to
also, like,
play
if I
on.
recall, they were trying to troll the admin in Venezuela by saying, like, it's like you'll never be able to take us in Venezuela, like we're super heavily fortified.
We just
and then
yanked
and then,
them.
and then the operation was done like less than 3 hours in the middle of the night when everybody was still sleeping.
yeah,
No one probably even knew this was happening.
and I think it's also important to note that I don't think the admin's going to do anything until they finish up Cuba because they're dealing with a lot
Yep.
of stuff with Cuba right
Cuba's
now.
about to
They've cut-
collapse.
Cuba has lost like 75% of its energy. Like there's no oil coming from Mexico. There's no
think-
oil coming
Yeah.
from Venezuela.
The
That was their lifeline.
The-
Russia doesn't care. They're not going to go.
the
send
latest
oil
report I
over.
heard is they have like a couple days ago they had like a week worth of energy left, oil. So it's over.
boy.
Yeah, and it's like Rubio's dream to do this. So I think
My
they'll
gosh,
do that before they. do
if he
anything else.
takes Cuba, I don't want to hear a damn word from Bears with the Hispanic vote ever again. You want to see Hispanic voters vote Republican?
No. If he takes Cuba, they're gonna leave, and then Florida's gonna be a
Yeah.
safe D state.
It's gonna
I
be a
can't
swing
believe-
state again,
I,
guys.
I can't get over the Venezuela thing where it's like, guys, instead of like overthrowing the government of Venezuela and like let Venezuelans go back there, let's start a refugee program here.
specifically up into like the northwest, by the way.
Oh
Or
shit!
northeast.
American, yeah, American Nerd for 2. Did y'all hear Canada suspending flights to Cuba? Yeah, we're gonna Cuba's gonna have
Oh,
some
boy.
fun. American Nerd for 2. Correction, Air Canada airline to suspend flights. Yeah, I mean, just what's gonna happen in Cuba is like the Cuban vote in Miami-Dade in 2026 is gonna be beautiful if we actually do this.
Well, not
It's gonna
only
be-
that,
it's
but
gonna
like
be Assad margins.
not only that, but like, I mean, it wasn't just Venezuelans that approved the Alcyon Duro. It was all of Latin America.
Everybody approved it. What do you think's gonna happen in Cuba? You really think the Cubans are gonna be against Trump? I swear to God, if they start saying that, guys, the Cubans in America disapprove of what Trump did in Cuba.
Well, I do want to state this, and this is something that people attempt to do, is like no matter how terrible a regime is or whatever, there will always be like supporters of it,
Oh,
probably
yeah.
because they directly benefit.
Yeah.
I mean, even right after the USSR fell and everything, you almost had a communist coup. And then to this day, even you still get like 20% of people who just vote for the Communist Party. When the elections happen in Venezuela, the current regime will probably still get like 20 to 30% of the vote. Like I don't doubt
Mhm.
that. And that's just fact. I'm sure the Iranian, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard probably has like a 20 to 30% approval rating. There's people who definitely do support it, but there are people who also supported Biden in, the USA. So,
But
you
you try to
people
explain this
always
to
back the
people.
wrong thing.
I mean, remember, it's like the freaking the Detroit worker that told Trump he's a pedophile. Remember that? And people were like, "Oh
Yep.
my gosh, Trump is losing his core voters." Yeah, it just
Yeah,
like
like oh no, a worker in D+30 Detroit hates Trump. What are we gonna do?
I mean, like that's the issue with this. And again, I'm very skeptical, but yeah. So at the end of the day, Mark, what do you think's gonna happen the next couple weeks with the I guess foreign policy? It's kind of the end of it. What do you think's gonna happen in Cuba and Iran? And yeah, those kind of the two main ones.
I think we're going to deal with Cuba first. I think just while everyone's been focusing on moving stuff to Iran and everything, I think people in Cuba are not going to like not having electricity. That's going to piss them off more. And in terms of Iran, it's going to be tough to see what the end result is because there's so many factors at play. Like, are the people willing to do another like big like revolt thing, what's Israel's take on it? Like it or not, it's kind of their neighborhood. They do get some saying it, um how are other like American allies feeling about it? Like, does the UK want to like help assist? Does the EU? Does NATO? There's a
I
lot of
mean,
factors. I'll say this: I don't think Iran will get any help from Russia or
no,
China. I
They're not
think
getting any
neither
help from the
nation
EU
is
either.
I think what's gonna
interested.
I think right now though this is the best opportunity to do it the next couple of weeks because I think right now if you want to get like the most support for these strikes, you do it right now because you don't want to wait till freaking October this year and then something crazy happens. It was haywire.
Yep.
Like you don't want that.
You know what would be really funny is if like all like we hyper focus on Iran, and then in the middle of that, Trump just decides, yeah, I'm just gonna oust the dictator of Cuba. You know
Yeah, I'm going to Cuba.
Yeah, no, I
that
do.
would be a total
He
Trump
did
thing to do. I
Venezuela.
can completely see that.
He literally did with Venezuela. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, guys, they're gonna nuke Iran. They're gonna bomb them." And out of the blue, oh yeah, Venezuela gets.
And I do
yanked.
think Marco Rubio cares a lot more about Cuba. I think
Oh
it
yeah.
was like in his like own biography book, he like told his dad like I'm gonna go liberate Cuba one day or something along those lines.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude, he cares a lot more about Cuba, and I mean, if the people, because the ultimate thing about like regime changes is at least a good portion of the people in the nation need to be upset at the current government to the levels that they're like going in the streets and they're pissed off, and not having power for a couple weeks probably going to piss some people off. So yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So I think that's kind of it. We went a little bit longer than I thought we were gonna go, but yeah. So Mark, it was nice having you on today.
Yeah, I'll hopefully be back at some point.
Yeah. So we went a little bit off topic, but a lot of stuff did break, and I do think though the Cuba stuff that's what to watch for. I think Cuba. I do think they're just gonna collapse on their own. That's my take. Like if they don't got any, they have no oil anymore or whatever it is.
Yeah, they're not getting any imports.
Well-
And by the way, thank you Tomato2517 for saying we need to get Trump to retruth AFI's Twitter.
Mhm.
I
So
agree.
normies can find it. I
Well-
appreciate that.
I should send it to James Blair. But
And one last thing on Venezuela. I mean, we've talked about this before, but it needs to be restated. Most of the guards of Maduro were not Venezuelans.
they're
they
Cubans,
were Cuban.
and they went home in shoe boxes.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so
yeah.
I think we're all good, and I'd like to be back on at some point.
Yeah,
This
we'll
was
get
actually
you
kinda
on
fun and
soon. That
whatnot.
was good. But anyways, folks, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy today's stream, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. And Mark, do you have anything else in the works with America First Insights? Anything new?
Yeah, we're hoping to get a like little primary calendar thing with all our endorsements set up, so that'll look very nice and be helpful for your people trying to keep up with what primaries are coming up. Because at the end of the day, everyone complains, "Oh, I don't like the government. Oh, I don't like how my congressman works." Guys, vote in your primaries, especially in your like tiny local elections. Whoever is your town council or county commissioner today will be your congressman tomorrow and will be your governor slash senator the day after. This is super important stuff to be involved, to be able to have the best people there, because that's how you build up. Politics is not won in a day. It's won over many, many years. The Reagan coalition was won and built upon for like 40 years. It didn't happen in one election cycle. So
No, but
yeah.
it happened, it happened in one night.
So true, so true. And
Just-
that's why, MAGA is starting to get to that point. Look at all the congressmen, all the freshmen we're getting these past couple of years have basically all been fantastic. And that's because MAGA is starting to become an institution that's lasting longer. Unlike the Tea Party, which was a quick flash in a pan, done and dusted, we're getting to the point where we're going to end up with senators and congressmen who are like part of the House Freedom Caucus and stuff. It's these slow buildups that matter, guys.
So anyways, folks, we'll see you guys next stream, video, or wherever you see us at.